It's confirmed that Robert Downey Jr. will be returning to the MCU, not to reprise his role as Tony Stark, but as the next big bad villain, Doctor Doom. The introduction of Victor Von Doom is bound to drastically shake things up in the MCU. Today on Screen Rant, let's take a deep dive into how Doctor Doom will introduce big changes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For starters, Doom isn't coming to the MCU alone. Indeed, there is an intrinsic link between the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom, who first appeared in Fantastic Four #5 way back in 1962. Reportedly, instead of Avengers, Doomsday, Doctor Doom will be making his debut in the mid- or post-credit scene of Fantastic Four. First Steps, which is slated for theatrical release on July 25, 2025. Though it's unclear how exactly it will all go down, this puts both Doom and the Fantastic Four at the center of the MCU's overarching narrative, even though they are all completely new characters to the movie franchise. In fact, while First Steps will open MCU Phase 6, the last two movies of this phase are Avengers: Doomsday and Avengers: Secret Wars, respectively, slated for release in May 2026 and May 2027. Both Doomsday and Secret Wars are expected to feature nearly the MCU's entire roster and focus on Doctor Doom's relationship with the Fantastic Four. This brings us to our next point. Avengers, welcome home. This must be confusing for you. Please sit and enjoy yourselves. After the near-omnipotent Beyonders orchestrated the death of the multiverse, Doctor Doom throws a wrench into their plan in Secret Wars. In the comics, it's revealed that the Beyonders are using variants of the Molecule Man as ticking time bombs in their grand plan to end all worlds. When Doctor Doom gets wind of this, he teams up with Owen Reese, the Earth 616 Molecule Man, to travel across different timelines to kill Owen's variants. Originally, Owen believed that his experiments led him to be enhanced by the Beyonders' limitless powers. However, Secret Wars reveals that he was an experiment created by the Beyonders all along, just like every other Molecule Man variant in existence. After Doctor Doom and Molecule Man succeed in killing these variants, they realize that it's not enough to stop the Beyonders. So, Doom uses the Molecule Man's powers to kill the Beyonders instead, turning the omnipotent being's plans against themselves. While this is not enough to prevent the death of the multiverse, Doom channels the Beyonders' powers through Molecule Man to save what can be salvaged. This results in the creation of Battleworld, various alternate realities patched together and ruled over by the now omnipotent god Emperor Doom. This version of Doom has several heroes under his command, most notably Dr. Stephen Strange, who serves as the sheriff of Battleworld. Moreover, across this strange new planet, the will of God Emperor Doom is enforced by the police force known as the Thor Corps, composed of different variants of the Asgardian god of thunder. Under Castle Doom, Molecule Man lies waiting in a chamber of light, safe from the prying eyes of Battleworld's twisted former heroes. However, Doom's uncontested reign is disrupted when two teams of strangers arrive in Battleworld. One led by Reed Richards and the other led by the Maker, an evil version of Richards from the Ultimate Universe. We won't spoil the ending of Marvel Comics' Secret Wars here, but the point is that Doom was the only person who outsmarted the Beyonders. Even though he couldn't preserve the original calibration of the multiverse, he figured out how to save what could be saved, which later paved the way for the creation of the new Marvel multiverse. This brings us to how Doom will completely change the MCU. I Am Inevitable, Thanos, Ultron, Kong the Conqueror, Gore the God Butcher, the High Evolutionary, and even the celestial planet Ego had one thing in common. Their actions made them irredeemable big bad villains. But what about Doctor Doom? Although he's traditionally known as a villain, the 21st century saw Doom transition into more of an anti-hero. In fact, after the ending of Secret Wars, Doom realized that being an omnipotent dictator didn't give him the satisfaction that he always expected. So Doom turned his efforts towards heroic pursuits instead, this time without some hidden self-serving agenda other than to become the opposite of a deity. In his quest to turn over a new leaf, Doom begins by offering his assistance to Tony Stark. In the comics, Doom had always admired and seen much of himself in Iron Man, who welcomes Doom's help against the supernatural threat of Madame Mask. Determined to take a different path, Doom even abdicates the throne of Latveria, which he transitions into a free state following the events of Civil War II. Tony falls into a coma after suffering grave injuries, which eventually charts the course of Doom's newfound heroism. During the infamous Iron Man storyline, Victor Von Doom dons the mantle of Iron Man to keep Stark's legacy alive. In light of Dr. Doom being played by Robert Downey Jr., the definitive live-action version of Tony Stark, it will be interesting to see how the MCU adapts these comic book storylines. However the MCU chooses to flesh out Doom's arc in the movies, it will likely reflect Dr. Doom's 21st century evolution from villain to anti-hero. After all, Victor Von Doom and Tony Stark are two sides of the same egotistical, technocratic coin. Combined with RDJ's acting prowess, the MCU has everything it needs to craft its most complex and unique big bad villain ever in Dr. Doom. I take power from the undeserved. It's kind of my thing. Everyone else, including Gore, who wielded the Necrosword, relied either on technology or cosmic forces to bend gods to their will. Meanwhile, though Wanda was the very embodiment of chaos magic, she can't really be considered a real villain, and her powers also came to her naturally rather than through diligent study. The opposite is true for Dr. Doom, who from the very beginning devoted himself to mastering both technology and dark magic. If the MCU debuts a comic-accurate version of Victor Von Doom, he will be just as versed in the dark arts as masters like Agatha Harkness or Stephen Strange. In fact, following Strange, Doom was considered one of the prime candidates for the position of Sorcerer Supreme. In the comics, Doom was introduced to magic as a child by his mother, a woman of Latverian and Romani origin, but his first real instruction in the dark arts came through Morgan Le Fay, whom Doom met through time travel. Eventually, Doom gained his iconic array of magical abilities by sacrificing his old lover to the Hazareth 3. This trio of demons conferred Doom with magical power equal to the years he spent studying science. Whether it's spellcasting, manipulating the elements, or traveling across time and different dimensions, Doom isn't just the perfect replacement for Kong the Conqueror. You have no idea what I have lost. Kong the Conqueror may be the unrivaled master of time, but even in his limited run in the MCU, it was clear that he would have been a self-correcting problem. Just like in the comics, there would always be a version of Kong willing and able to do what the previous most prominent one could not. In contrast, there is only one Victor Von Doom. At a point where the MCU is being consistently criticized for overplaying the multiverse variant card, it's better for the overarching narrative to focus on a singular villain. While Kong the Conqueror is basically a more advanced, futuristic version of Dr. Doom, the latter is clearly the more interesting character. It's not just because Doom has a larger comic book legacy than Kong. Unlike Kong, who is obsessed with keeping everything in order, there's no telling what Doom will do after he debuts in the MCU. In fact, if there's anyone who can find a way to resurrect the Scarlet Witch and has the gall to actually pull it off, it would be Dr. Doom. There's even a chance that in the MCU, Doom could trigger Secret Wars through some misguided attempt to somehow recreate the Darkhold. Whereas Kong is all-knowing and overpowered to a fault, Doom is still a man yet to realize his true destiny, and his journey is bound to force the MCU to tread new ground. How else do you think Dr. Doom could change the MCU? Thank you for watching.